Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of the Amateur in the Morning. I'm your host, the Forex Amateur. Today is the 3rd of November. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Not sure how beautiful it is for some of my brothers and sisters in the States, but wish you guys all the luck in terms of the election. So let's get straight into it. As you know, on these sessions, I would like to basically break down my thoughts on the charts and shed some light on what I'm looking at doing in terms of trading for the day. Just to throw in my little disclaimer, remember, I'm not qualified to provide financial trading or investment advice. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my opinion. Any trades I do take is trades I take with cash I am willing to risk. So ensure any trades you take is based on analysis that you've done. You've done your research, and any risk, cash or capital that you are risking is capital you are willing to lose, because the reality is you could lose your entire investment, right? So I'm going to get straight into the markets this morning, looking at synthetics again. We're still keeping with the synthetics markets. I haven't really started implementing the currency or the commodities or anything like that, because my focus is on synthetics primarily, and I generally just dilute my attention a bit when I move over to currency. So I'm trying to focus a bit more on synthetics for the moment, and then we'll see from there. So looking at the charts this morning, we're looking at volatility 10. Now, I did speak about volatility 10 yesterday, and I did mention that overall I am currently sell bias on this market, and I'm looking to see it push down. Not really much has changed in terms of that. Yesterday, I did take some selling opportunities, which I was able to get out of before the market did reverse as well. As you can see that yesterday's candle did push quite a bit down. And it basically rejected closing as a pin bar or a hammer. I can never really get this right, but something to that effect. So a really hard rejection off the bottom. And when I generally see things like this, I would expect price to come back down and at least at minimum fill the wick of that candle, right? As you can see in today's candle, that we've got a lot of bearish presence at the moment. I've actually just jumped in on another position on this small account. I jumped in on another position, say about 5-10 minutes ago, and that's currently in profits at the moment, as you can see in here. So that is still, I'm still targeting down into this area there, right? Looking at what's today's objectives. Obviously, we're going to have intraday objectives, looking at the markets for today. And let me just drop down to the 1 hour time frame, because the 4 hour is simply just going to be basically a repetition of what we just spoke about on the daily chart, right? But I just want to highlight this level in here. Just change this. All right, cool, that's fine. All right, so we're going to drop down to the 1 hour. Where the heck is that level there? Okay, cool. There it is. So when I drop down to the 1 hour, you can see that 4 hour level that I just dropped in here, which is a really good objective in terms of selling opportunities. However, there is a short-term objective I have in here as well, which is around this arrow or perhaps this pink zone here. If this bullish momentum that came into the market yesterday is anything to go by, meaning if it is a signal, sorry, that price is going to do a retracement, obviously because of this big bearish move to the downside, we would expect a pullback before a continuation down. So if this bullish momentum of yesterday is valid, then we would be looking to see if price can come down into these areas and perhaps give us a bounce on around this pink zone or even this arrow that I've marked in here, and see if we do get buying opportunities. However, if buying opportunities do not come in off there, I'm very resilient at looking at buys at the moment. The reason is because I am sell bias on this market, and this level has been tested multiple times. As you can see, I'm just zooming out a bit or panning out a bit so that you can see this level has been tested multiple times, right? So I wouldn't really expect this level to hold much longer, but if it does give an opportunity, then we will look to take buys off there and target into these areas in here on the top. If it does not, however, then I will be looking at holding my sells down into this area and then further down into this pink zone that we've got at the bottom. Overall, I am sell bias, as I said, on volatility 10. And as long as it's going to give me selling opportunities, as I said yesterday, I will still be taking those sells. I would have to see a really, really good buying confirmation, perhaps around this gray zone. If it happens around here, then I'll most likely take the buy, because then it will give us something like a push up into there and then a pull down into here. So if something like that happens, then that is fine. I would participate in a buy off here. But if it does happen around this area, it would have to be a really, really good confirmation for me to look to take that buy, right? Let's move on to volatility 50. Looking at volatility 50, yesterday I did say that I was expecting it to come down into this pink zone. And if it does come down into this pink zone, I have actually minimized it a bit. The zone was initially all the way up here, and I just basically dropped it down a little bit to around there, right? So if it does come down into around this pink zone in here, then I will be looking to participate in that overall buy up into that area in there. Oh, wow. What is that? Yeah, so I'll be looking to participate in that buy all the way back up. Overall, we are expecting to see a huge influx of bullish momentum in here. What could actually happen today is we could see this level hold up as a level of support, right? And simply keeping this market above this area. So if we do see it break above here and give us good enough confirmations, then perhaps you can continue buying, looking at obviously targeting around these areas in here before we look for a retracement down into here to take this market all the way back up. Overall, I am looking at possible sells coming in for today, obviously because I am chasing this pink zone that I've got here at the bottom. So I am looking at overall sales possibly coming in today to push this market down and then take it up. Another thing is if price does break below, this is that gray zone that I've highlighted on the daily, right? So if price does break below the zone and just give us good enough confirmations, then you can participate in sales as well, right? Because that's something that I would look at doing. Obviously, that is not something that I would advise you to do. Ensure that you do your own analysis on your side as well before you make any decisions. But for me, if it does break below and it does give me good enough confirmations, then I'll possibly participate in a sell down into this pink zone. If not, then I'll be looking to see what other confirmations we can get to take price higher from here, right? Moving on to volatility 25-1S, not much has changed in terms of 25-1S. On yesterday's analysis, I did speak about the fact that we will see yesterday's candle try to fill the wick of the previous day's candle, which was basically Sunday's candle. As you can see, the one that left this big wick in there. And as you can see, it did sort of push up a little bit, but it didn't completely fill that candle. As I did say, I am aiming for an entry from around this pink zone that I've highlighted from there. And if I do get a good entry in there, then I will look to take that sell and take it all the way back down. So overall, I am looking at seeing possible buys coming into the market for today. But I would have to have a look at perhaps the lower time frames to see if we can get any good enough confirmations of that. But for now, as you can see, it is a bit choppy. As I did mention yesterday, I really don't like looking at volatility 25-1S on the lower time frames because as you can see in here, it's basically been trapped in this range since about 1 p.m. yesterday. It's been trapped in this range here, right? So we'll be waiting to see it break out. I will anticipate it'll break to the upside and then drop down from there. That's what I would anticipate, something to that effect, right? So that is what I am waiting to see happen on this market. And if that happens, then I'll be looking to take some sells off there. What's that? Cool. So moving on to volatility 75 to 75 is still I'm still overall bullish on this at the moment. Looking at yesterday's candle, I did say on yesterday's analysis, so if you can just go back and have a look at that if you'd like, that price left a huge wick at the top, and when that generally happens, you generally see a fill of that wick. And as you can see, yesterday's candle basically filled the wick of the previous day's candle, and it left another wick at the top. So we'll expect today's candle to push up and fill yesterday's candle as well. We did take some really good sells on volatility 75 yesterday. Initial sells were taken on this H1 chart. Initial sells were taken in here, which basically I got stopped out for about say about 2% of my initial position, which was really, really well managed, right? And I did jump in on another position at this area in here, right? Stops above there, and I was basically targeting 474, which would have been just below where this basically wicked, right? So it just fell short of our price objective, but on seeing this rejection happening in here, I was able to jump out of this position, and this happened, say, at about, I think, say about 2 a.m. if I'm not mistaken, 1 to 2 a.m. we saw this rejection off here. And that is when I was able to jump out of those cells. Overall, that was very high risk, remember, because I am overall bias on this market. So looking at this, I'll be looking to see if price comes into these areas in here, and that will be a good area to sell back down into this lower pink zone. So if we do get that huge push into here today, then I will be looking to participate in that huge push back to the downside into there. And from there, we'll obviously look at other opportunities. Obviously, that wouldn't happen all in one day. So that's as much as I'm going to say about 75, to be frank. Um, Not really much more that we can speak about unless that higher time frame does play out very, very well. I do obviously hyper focus on the daily time frame, and the reason for that is because once it hits those daily levels, we tend to get a much more high impact move off there, and there's less resistance, right? So there's less resistance in terms of if price is going to push to the downside, it generally pushes down really quickly. If it's going to push to the upside, it generally pushes up really, really quickly. So since I'm a very impatient person, it's the best type of entries that I can look for is around there, because I wanna make sure that I can take as much as possible, but I also want to make sure I can get out as quick as possible as well. The last thing I want to do is sit in a trade for a whole lot of time and be sitting in really, really small to mediocre profits, right? So let's move on to volatility. Oh, I think I've actually covered everything. Wow. I think I've actually covered everything. I'm not really going to cover these charts. As I have said, I will implement them at some point, right? But for now, I'm just sharing it with the premium guys at the moment, or the paid guys. I hate saying premium, with the paid guys at the moment. And I will be implementing them perhaps sometime in the future. But for now, the 4 charts that I have been sharing with you guys on YouTube every day is moving really, really nicely as well. So if you are trading full-time or part-time or whatever it is, have a look at these videos, go back, have a look at yesterday's videos, go back and have a look at a week ago's videos if you'd like, because the story doesn't really change, right? The narrative remains the same. And the moment you are able to follow the narrative, you'll be able to set much better objectives in terms of your trading. You'll be able to make much better decisions in terms of how you trade, when you trade, and stuff like that, right? So ensure that, remember, these sessions that I post on YouTube is purely just for educational purposes, just so that you guys can have a look at these things and be able to pick up on a few things if possible, right? Cool. So that's it from my side. I'm not really going to keep this longer than it needs be. My goal is to obviously drop these down to about 10 minutes to 15 minutes maximum and cover as many charts as possible in that time. And I'm basically working my way towards that, but 10 to 15 minutes is ultimately what I would like to get to, right? So I'm going to leave it on that note. And I'm going to say until next time, I wish you a blessed and a profitable trading day. And it has been a pleasure, as always, to share with you guys.